Number 10. Kashamba. Kashamba is the Black Panther belonging to the 2099 universe. He first appeared in Marvel Knights Black Panther 2099 issue number 1. Of course, because this comic is from 2004, Wakanda doesn't really appear as advanced as it might now in the modern day in comics. Our advancements just weren't that great yet. In this comic, Black Panther is overthrown by the Doctor Doom of 2099, who looks a lot like the Doctor Doom of the present day. Fortunately, Kashamba ends up avoiding being killed by Doom and inspires his people to rebel against the usurper. They are successful due to Kashamba's leadership and tactical brilliance, but in the end, Kashamba ends up being controlled by Doom, who seems to use Kashamba's Black Panther mask initially to do so. However, it is more than likely that should this story have continued, that Doom's control would be broken at some point, as Wakanda is both a nation rich with technology and magic. Either way, they'd likely figure out what was happening and find a way to break Doom's control. Number 9. Kevin Cole. Kevin Cole is kind of an anti-hero. He's a cop from Harlem, New York, and first appeared in the 1998 Black Panther series in issue number 50. His character was created by Priest and Dan Fraga. He became the Black Panther without any abilities, wearing a bulletproof Black Panther inspired suit in an effort to stand out and get a promotion. When this attracted the attention of the corrupt Lieutenant Sal Anthony, who attacked Cole and his fellow officers, hospitalizing some of them, Kevin realized he needed to do more and actually became a vigilante in order to take down Sal. Later on, Cole would aim to become a proper Black Panther with all of the mystical abilities. Eric Killmonger, however, offered him an easier way than through Wakanda, T'Challa, and the Rite of Ascension, giving him a synthetic version of the heart-shaped herb, which would grant him powers in exchange for Kevin Cole dropping the Black Panther pipe dream and name, instead joining Killmonger's Panther cult and taking up the name White Tiger. Number 8. Azuri. Azuri was T'Challa's grandfather and the father of T'Chaka. He was the leader of Wakanda during World War II and would eventually end up teaming up with Captain America and his Howling Commandos, as well as Nick Fury to take down the Red Skull and Baron Strucker. He was one of the most deadly Black Panthers we've ever seen, more on guard and less trustworthy of any foreigners that set foot on Wakandan soil during the war. He seems to behave coldly and more ruthlessly when it comes to those he deems enemies. Azuri was more of an independent ruler who believed in not getting involved in the war originally, but eventually came to admire and respect Captain America and the symbol he knew Cap would become for America, seeing similarities between both their positions as national heroes. Number 7. Ngozi. Ngozi is an alternate version of Black Panther from the Venomverse War Stories comic. She was originally a track star whose legs became paralyzed following an accident. She ended up bonding with the Venom symbiote, which gave her the ability to once again walk and use her legs. After the Black Panther was killed by Rhino while attempting to defend her, she convinced the symbiote to join her in taking on the Rhino and defeating him in order to protect not just themselves, but innocent civilians from his wrath as well. The Dora Milaje were inspired by her bravery and named her as the new Black Panther, and this alternate reality T'Challa's successor after her defeat of Rhino and T'Challa's death. Number 6. Black Panther. This is the first Black Panther in known history in the comics. He first appeared in Marvel Legacy issue 1, where it was established that the first Black Panther originated from the Panther tribe. Although we don't know his name, we do know he was one of the first to uncover a vibranium meteor and the power that came from it. He was one of the members of the Stone Age Avengers and was powerful enough to help defeat a Celestial. Number 5. T'Chaka. T'Chaka was T'Challa and Shuri's father. As a ruler of Wakanda, he believed in both preserving and upholding the traditions and magic of their people, while also working hard towards pushing forward with technological advancements. He believed that both ideals could coexist and that a nation should progress but not forget their past or their history. As a ruler, T'Chaka was also bestowed with the powers of Black Panther, granted to him by the heart-shaped herb. As such, he had heightened senses and maintained peak physical condition and capabilities throughout his life. Not quite superhuman, but still above average when it came to his strength, speed, agility, and durability. Basically, think of an Olympic level athlete. As leader of Wakanda, he also had the strength of the nation at his back, and as a member of the royal family, he was trained at birth to become a skilled leader when it came to combat and diplomacy. Number 4. Eric Killmonger. Eric's story in the comics is a little different from the one that we saw in the MCU. Instead, he is very much a victim who was manipulated and turned into a villain by the traitorous Ndemwe and Ulysses Klaue. In fact, it was Klaue himself who originally gave gave him the name Eric, and encouraged him to discard his true Wakandan name of Njindaka, forcing Eric to treat Claw as his true master. This made Eric resentful, and eventually Njindaka rose up against his captors, killing Mdemwe and abandoning Claw. Eric would end up adopting the name Claw gave to him to blend in. Eventually Eric would find his way back to Wakanda and would begin to secretly plot to overthrow King T'Challa, becoming one of his greatest enemies. Eric himself has become a powerful adversary to Wakanda and even an emperor in his own right of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. He not only has had the power of Black Panther, but is also intelligent, boasting a PhD in neuroscience and engineering. Also, every time Killmonger dies in the comics, he always seems to come back. So while he's not immortal in terms of abilities, plot-wise, he kinda is. Number 3. T'Challa. T'Challa is the most well-known iteration of Black Panther in the present day, especially now that we have the MCU version of him. But while some might focus on his fighting prowess, which is impressive, it should also be noted that T'Challa has also been granted supernatural powers since he became King of the Dead. He has necromancy skills and also has developed multiversal senses and awareness thanks to Galactus. Not only is T'Challa powerful in terms of his superpowers, but he is also known for his brilliant mind, which earned him his place in the Illuminati. Many may think of Shuri as the brains of the family thanks to her depiction in the MCU, but T'Challa is actually known for being just as brilliant, if not more, in the comics. He has a photographic memory and is also a master of physics, as well as a field that he created himself and discovered, known as shadow physics. He's super smart. Number 2. Shuri. Shuri has always been passionate about becoming the first female Black Panther in Wakandan history. She is not only powerful because of how determined she is, but because of how hard she has worked towards that goal. She is determined, bold, brave, and strong-willed. Her half-brother himself trained her for this purpose, in case she was ever called upon to take his place, which of course ended up happening, making her the Queen of Wakanda and Black Panther in T'Challa's stead. At one point they were even both Black Panther. It was her determination and strong will that helped her to become such a spirited and skilled fighter. Shuri is also a genius, a brilliant inventor, and a skilled tactician and diplomat. She has also been gifted with supernatural abilities which allow her to change shape, size, and raise the dead. Number 1. MCU T'Challa. One of the most powerful versions of Black Panthers when we are looking at impact is T'Challa from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This isn't just because of how powerful that character is, how he manages to balance both the traditional and technologically advanced aspects of Wakanda like his father T'Chaka did in the comics, always doing his best as a ruler, a king, and a hero for his nation, but also for the world. It's also because of his growth through the Black Panther film. He is powerful and wise enough to see that one day a change is not only going to come, but needs to come. He is brave and strong enough to see that it is time for him to listen to those around him and share the truth about the power of Wakanda with the world. T'Challa does not let fear blind him in the end. He's not only powerful, but he's inspirational. Add in the fact that we had Chadwick Boseman portraying him in the film, and it only adds to the character's power. He was an amazing performer who always committed to each role that he took on. Chadwick Boseman was the one to develop the dialect of Wakanda, studying various different languages and dialects from across Africa to come up with it. It was also so well received that it became adapted by the rest of the cast when Black Panther came about. This wasn't just a man who played a hero on screen, but he became a hero in his own right, questioning and fighting against stereotypical roles for people of color and using his own voice to raise up and acknowledge everyday heroes. From playing real-world historical heroes to acknowledging James Shaw Jr., who saved lives by wrestling a gunman out of a Waffle House in Nashville, Tennessee during a mass shooting. Yeah, that's a thing that happened. Boseman gave away his award for Best Hero at the 2018 MTV Awards to Shaw, calling him up on stage with him to accept the award, acknowledging him as a real-life hero. If there is such a thing as people who are too good for this world, Chadwick Boseman was likely one of them. Number 10. Despair. Despair is the second youngest of the Endless. Despair was also the first of the Endless to die and be resurrected as a new aspect. Morpheus believed that the person who killed the original was, at least somewhat, justified in their actions. We also learned that the person who murdered the original aspect would take an eternity to die, although in the original Sandman this is only mentioned, not gone into in great detail. The original aspect of Despair's demise is quite mysterious in the original series. memories. Despair rules over all those in despair, and from her realm she can gaze upon those who find themselves in despair via various different mirrors. Her sigil is a fishhook which Despair often uses to dig into her flesh. I mean, she is Despair. Number 9. Delirium. My favorite member of the Endless, Delirium is the youngest, and prior to evolving into the being known as Delirium, or Del for short, she was known as Delight. Delirium, because she is younger and much less focused or organized than her siblings, is often thought of as being weaker. Really, I would still consider her to be a powerhouse though. I mean, she's also still endless. Delirium rules over the sanity of others and those who are delirious. Despite her fun, silly, and playful nature, she is not an Endless that you would want to get involved with though. Whether seen as an enemy or an ally of hers, you stand a chance to be touched by her madness, as even a gift from Delirium can actually be a curse in disguise for those who are sane. Although I'm sure Del wouldn't see it that way herself. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to show us how much you love the channel, please head on over to Facebook where we have lots more content coming your way, and you can give us a follow over there as well. Number 8. Desire. Desire is seen as one of the more manipulative siblings when it comes to the Endless. Once Desire and Despair were one being who broke in twain, becoming the twins Despair and Desire, separate entities. As much as the Endless are endless, they are still able to change and evolve as time goes on, and one of the Endless, Destruction, even at one point managed to retire, leaving behind their role in their office. Desire generally likes to meddle in the affairs of Dream, and also enjoys meddling and getting involved in the affairs of humans. Although really when it comes to affairs of lust and love with humans, affairs of the heart if you will, it's not really meddling because that is the area that Desire rules over. So to them it's basically business. Their business in essence, which is, of course, pleasure. Number 7. Destiny. While many do not think of Destiny as being one of the most powerful beings around in the Sandman universe, really they are. Destiny is actually the oldest sibling of the Endless family. Destiny is more beholden to rules than some of their other siblings, but just because they are seen as being less physically active or disruptive to the status quo does not mean that they are not immensely powerful, because, you know, they are. Destiny, while blind, is the keeper of the Book of Souls, which contains the history of the universe in it. Destiny is knowledge of pretty much all things that have been, will be, and currently are. However, the reason why people consider Destiny as weaker in some respects is because Destiny cannot really take action to change the course of history, but more acts as an observer and a chronicler of everything that will and has come to pass. Number 6. Dream. The Dream we know via Sandman is known by the name of Morpheus, but he is not the only iteration of the character to exist. Currently in the Sandman universe, Dream is known as Daniel. This is a different incarnation of the character. While Dream can be killed and defeated, the concept of Dream cannot, and so if ever Dream falls, there will be a new incarnation that will appear to take his place. Lord Morpheus is often not thought of as being one of the most powerful members of the Endless, as he is the ruler of the non-tangible realm of dreams and nightmares. But in reality, Dream is more powerful than most would give him credit for. After all, it is our dreams that inspire us and can also bring us great turmoil or fear. Dreams help to give life and desires meaning, and as such, Dream is the 3rd oldest sibling of the Endless. Number 5. The Kindly Ones. The Kindly Ones are known by many names, including the Fates, the 3 Witches, the 3 Sisters, and 3-in-1. They not only have these different names, but also have different incarnations to go along with them. As the Kindly Ones, they seek revenge for those who have done harm to their own family members, spilling their blood. And as the Hecatea or Hecatea, they were known as prophetic seers or oracles. Really, the Kindly Ones or 3 Witches are one entity which simply has 3 different manifestations or faces made up of the crone, often taking the name of Mordred, the mother, often taking up the name of Mildred, and the maid, often taking up the name of Cynthia. These 3, or really this one entity, is even powerful enough to assist and affect the beings known as the Endless. Number 4. Death. Death is the 2nd oldest sibling of the Endless and is widely considered as the most powerful of their ranks as well. This is why Roderick Burgess wanted so bad to trap her. In the live action series, he wanted to stop Death from fulfilling her duties and hoped to force her to give him back his firstborn son while she was imprisoned. In the comics, Burgess sought to capture Death to prove himself a great magus and also to acquire immense power. However, in neither version of the tale did this plan work out for him, unfortunately. Death is the one who comes to claim the souls of the dead and helps them to cross over into whatever afterlife awaits them. She is also possibly the most popular character from the comics thanks to her sometimes flippant or sarcastic demeanor and to the fact that everyone just considers Death to be like one of the hottest. Death has also demonstrated a great capacity for kindness and compassion in regards to how she deals with those who have died, as well as her own family members. Number 3. Lucifer. Initially, Lucifer was an angel of heaven known as Samael, widely thought of as the most powerful, most beautiful, and wisest of all angels. As Samael, Lucifer rebelled against heaven and when that battle was lost was banished to a shapeless void that would later become known as the Realm of Hell. It is believed, however, that even after Lucifer Morningstar became the ruler of Hell and later retired to run the Lux nightclub on Earth, that their power remained. Lucy is therefore still thought of as being one of the most powerful beings on Earth, one of the most powerful former angels, second only to their creator. Number 2. Michael. Michael is the twin sibling of Lucifer, and as such is considered to be of the same power level or possibly even more powerful than Lucifer Morningstar. Michael was the one to lead the army of angels against Lucifer and the other rebels during the war in heaven. As Michael won that fight, many believe Michael Demiurgos to be the more powerful between the two twin siblings. Michael is considered to be a vessel for the power of their father, God of all things, Yahweh, aka the Presence, who also created Lucifer. Unlike most other beings of great power, Michael is rare in the fact that he can actually conceive children. Number 1. The Presence. The Presence is basically the creator of all things in the DC universe, and also rules over and spills into the Vertigo line as well. The Presence is seen as the god of all creation, also known as Lucifer's and Michael's father, Yahweh. The Presence has many different names and aspects, including the source, the voice, the hand, Allah, the light, and the one above all, among others. The Presence is not just the being who is credited with creating the universe, but the omniverse besides. Before the Presence or the light came into existence, there was only the great darkness, and with the spark of the light, everything that would ever come to be was created. The Presence is omnipresent, omniscient, and has infinite divine power.
And it's 10. Future Flash. The Future Flash is certainly a powerful version of Barry, but he's not really from another reality, but from an alternate future that he wants to prevent from happening, hence why he's at number 10. The Future Flash is a version of Barry Allen from the future who blamed himself for the death of Wally West. So in an effort to correct that mistake, he tries to prevent this tragedy by killing people. Yeah, he starts killing his enemies to gain enough speed to travel back in time. He starts by killing Gorilla Grodd with like a little microbomb that he phases into his head, and then eventually he kills enough people that he can travel back in time to kill one final person, himself. His goal this whole time was to travel back to before Wally dies and kill his old self, preventing any of this from happening. At least that's what he thinks is gonna happen, which is honestly a pretty awful plan if you ask me. But based on how he killed his entire rogues gallery, essentially in order to gain enough speed to travel back in time, makes him seem pretty damn powerful, and honestly, really scary. Like, if you're willing to kill another version of your past self, or whatever it is, okay, you need some therapy or something. I mean, it still sounds like a paradox to me, like I don't think you could actually kill yourself, but hey. And at 9, Kingdom Come. Wally West from Earth 22 is really powerful, but it comes with a major downfall. In the Kingdom Come universe of Earth 22, Wally West received his speed through unknown means, but nonetheless he still became the Flash, obviously. When Superman retired though, Wally kept going, but he kept going and never stopped, running from scene to scene, disaster to disaster, never taking a break. This ended up somehow just making it so that he could never stop running, having to constantly run as fast as he could, resulting in appearing to everyone as just a red blur, classic Flash style. But while this is powerful, he literally cannot stop, so there isn't really much benefit to it. However, he didn't end up killing himself or traveling back in time to kill himself, so you know what, in my books he's more powerful than Future Flash, even if he can't stop running. I mean, like, at least the cops or death can't really catch him that way, right? Like, do you think, like, as he gets older, like, he slows down, like, to a point where he shouldn't be able to stand, but he's still running as fast as, like, your typical 23-year-old jogger? But, like, he can never stop? And it ain't Mercury Flash. Mercury Flash is a robotic version of the Flash made by Dr. Tornado as a member of his Metal League. The robot uses a mercury-based physiology, whatever that means, that makes it able to somehow channel the Speed Force. I don't understand how this man not only learned about the Speed Force but was able to replicate or siphon it using mercury or whatever, but Who cares? It's comics. It doesn't need to make sense as long as it advances the plot. First being introduced in the Multiversity Guidebook #1 in March 2015, this version of the Flash can do everything the normal Flash can do powers-wise. Because, you know, he's a robot, he can't really do, human-like activities. And has the added advantage of, you know, being a robot, so he doesn't really fear death. Not only is it not coded into him, but he also is just straight up being able, you can repair him. This version of the Flash hails from Earth 44, and honestly, I kinda wish I was him. No responsibilities, only running super fast. That's the dream. And it's 7, Black Flash. The actual physical representation of death for all speedsters, and honestly, maybe a couple other people, but they just don't see him coming. Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in The Flash Volume 2 #138 in 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters, including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force, but was unsuccessful, taking Wally's girlfriend Linda Park instead. I mean, like, based on past experiences, Wally, feel like he did you a favor. But since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash returned to try to take Wally again, freezing time for everyone who didn't have a connection to the Speed Force, which is a total dick move. Like, first you take my girl, and now you're still trying to get me? Then bro, at least give me my girl back. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters, including Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, and Jesse Quick, Wally was actually able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to apparently have no meaning, which I mean doesn't really make total sense, because as long as someone is still living, death would still matter, but oh well. It's comics, like I said. But that didn't stop the Speed Force, because later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline, becoming the new Black Flash. Until Professor Zoom took over the title after, you know, he was raised in the Blackest Night storyline. Yeah, there's been a lot of Black Flashes. And at 6, Darkseid War. What's more powerful than a speedster death? What about actual death as a speedster? That's right. In the Darkseid War storyline, Barry Allen becomes the host for Death, also known as the Black Racer. Through Barry, Black Racer kills Darkseid, and Barry fights off Black Racer, escaping from his grasp. Barry runs away, but the Racer gives chase, staying mere inches behind him. When Black Racer catches up to Barry, he explains that he must have a tether. If he doesn't, the entire world will end, and everybody will die. He shows this world to Barry, and Barry accepts the power. He has to kill someone though to let the universe continue to live. So then he appears in front of Iris. As he does, the Black Racer bursts out and tries to kill her, but Barry once again frees himself from the manifestation of death, but this time using his own weapon to kill him. Killing Black Racer seemed to be the answer, but instead, Barry Allen had freed Death. And since it no longer had a tether, it wiped everyone out. Yeah, Death isn't as cool and collected as the one from Supernatural. But luckily this was all happening inside of Barry's head. So when he comes to, he accepts the responsibility of Death and becomes in essence just the Grim Reaper, the last thing that anyone sees before they die. And honestly, that's pretty damn powerful if you ask me. And also, kind of my dream job. Halfway through into number 5, Savitar. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I feel like I need to include one of the most interesting evil speedsters in the show. Savitar, while sharing a name with another evil speedster from the comics, is actually revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen in the show. Being more of a future Flash than Savitar, I mean, like, he's you know, he's kind of both. It's weird. He also didn't come back to kill Barry, he came back to kill Iris. His story is pretty messed up. In essence, making himself and having like a classic chicken and the egg scenario. Which came first, Savitar or the Time Remnant? Neither, they both kind of made each other. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, Savitar comes back from the future after escaping a Speed Force prison to kill Iris West before her and Barry can get married. This causes Barry to create as many Time Remnants as he possibly can because he is willing to kill himself in order to save Iris. Yeah, the Savitar kills them all because, you know, he's a future version of Barry. He knows what's gonna happen. Except he spares one. The one he spares is gonna become Savitar because he gets shunned by the rest of the team for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he is still the real Barry Allen. Whatever. So in an act of fury and rage, the Time Remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed, known as Savitar. But the suit he wears also allows him to travel at basically instantaneous speeds, and it's also existent and non-existent at the same time. And the show version of the Flash has not been able to do that at this point. He's not been able to travel basically instantaneously, even in recent seasons. And he's only visible to other speedsters. Normal people can't see him, at least while he's trapped inside the Speed Force prison. I don't think they really went over that afterwards, after he got out. But hey, whatever. And at 4, Speed Demon. Recently, I wrote a list about the Amalgam universe that combined DC and Marvel characters, and the Speed Demon comes from this universe. A combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Barry Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. The demon component of Etrigan was also formerly Jay Garrick, because Night Spectre stole Jay's soul, which is kind of rude because that's my thing. Anyway, the Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his attempts to collect the souls of like pure and the most corrupt, and I mean also again that sounds like a pretty sweet deal, but Blaze Allen refused. So in an attempt to persuade him, I guess in a way persuade him, at his wedding night, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul, and then, you know, he asked Blaze to do it, and then he did because he wanted to get his girl back, or at least like make sure that she wasn't going to be killed or something. But I mean, like, yeah, you know that's not how that works. Speed Demon also speaks only in rhymes, and whenever I do that people get mad at me, but I don't care. This is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe fire. So yeah, Wally West, which is an amalgam of Wally West and Danny Ketch, was also the next Speed Demon who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back. But I mean, like, come on, a fire-breathing, speeding ball of fire and lightning? That sounds incredibly badass. Getting close to the end in at number 3, Godspeed. August Hart is the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash. While going after a criminal organization known as Black Hole, August was struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. So, after this, August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got his revenge on the one who he suspected to be his brother's killer. He had given up on the justice system since his brother's killer had gone free, and with his newfound power, had the ability to become judge, jury, and executioner. August realized after he had gotten his powers that he also had the ability to steal other speedsters' speed, though for a time could only do it by killing them. He practiced this skill enough to be able to do it non-lethally, but like, you know, he still was killing people. So with his new godlike speed, August was able to move so fast that he could create duplicates of himself at any given time, allowing him to give the illusion that he and Godspeed were two different people, which is pretty damn sick, considering the alternatives are Speed Mirage and Time Remnant, which aren't really the same thing. And I mean, the CW show also did kind of adapt this with all the Godspeed clones during the Godspeed War storyline, which I mean they should have went into more, but oh well. Penultimately, in at number 2, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster that is an evil combination of Batman and the Flash, which already sounds terrifying, but wait till you hear his story. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but Robins kept dying left, right, and center. So understandably, Batman got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his methods, which honestly just seems more realistic to me. Aside from him just, you know, quitting fighting crime. This eventually leads him to Barry, who he tries to get speed from. But Barry refuses to give Bruce his Speed Force powers. So Batman uses various rogues' weapons to fight him and knocks him out. Once Barry was unconscious, Bruce tied him to the front of a cosmic, treadmill-powered Batmobile and drives them both into the Speed Force. And then when entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce end up fusing together into a Batman with super speed, while Barry's mind was trapped inside Bruce's body. And you know, of course Bruce gets to drive. He also then gets a visit from the Batman Who Laughs, and who they try to recruit him into conquering the multiverse. Anyway, eventually he gets exposed to a large dose of positive energy, which allows Barry Allen to take control. Gotta love those positive vibes. And then he helped in the fight against the Dark Knights, but also the positive energy kills him. and Red Death explodes. Finally, in number 1, White Lantern. While Barry Allen became a White Lantern at the end of the Blackest Night storyline, he became in essence a god. I described this in the most powerful Green Arrows list, but hot damn do these dudes have some sweet powers. They can use any color from the spectrum of light, since white light is just a combination of all the others. I'm sure you've seen the album cover, or at the very least the Eevee version of the album cover, and you know, the White Lanterns also have power over life, including the ability to duplicate their rings and resurrect people. Basically anything you think of, they can do it. It's absolutely insane. The White Lanterns are basically God, but with many different avatars. White energy blasts, force field generation, energy constructs, energy twins, ring duplication, mind alteration, wormhole generation, time travel, invisibility, resurrection, just to name a few. Yeah, it's so overpowered that I'm surprised that DC didn't just explode after that. Like, imagine you could play as like a White Lantern in Injustice, but like an actual White Lantern, not like a recolored Green Lantern. Oh, damn.
Number 10. Goose Rider. Coming from the same animal-themed alternate universe as Spider-Ham, little is known about this variant of Ghost Rider other than the fact that he is a goose. This may not seem very powerful to some of you, but anyone who has ever dealt with a Canada goose knows how truly dangerous, despicable, and vengeful they can be. The idea of one of these awful creatures also being granted the powers of Ghost Rider is a truly terrifying thing to contemplate, and worth at least the number 10 spot on this list. Number 9. Ghost Rider 2099. The Ghost Rider of the year 2099 is actually the only entry on this list that doesn't get their powers from any demonic source. Zero Cochrane is instead a young computer hacker who was murdered by a rival street gang while out on a hacking mission. In an origin story not dissimilar to Chucky from Child's Play, Zero managed to download his mind into the internet before dying. He was greeted by a group of digital beings who sent him back in a robot body. Realizing that the robo body resembled the original Ghost Rider, Zero decided to take on the identity despite not technically being a Ghost Rider. Zero's power grid in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe actually lists his abilities as being much higher than many of the other Ghost Riders on this list, but as they are not a true Ghost Rider, I have decided to rank him pretty low. Number 8. Ghost Spider. A Peter Parker from an alternate dimension who travels the multiverse with the help of his Uncle Ben, stealing the powers of other Spider-Men in order to better defend his universe. The Amazing Spider, as he called himself, eventually kidnapped the Spider-Man of Earth 616 and brought him to his universe. When Spidey learned of his misguided alternate's plan, he managed to convince him that what he was doing was wrong. Although evil Uncle Ben tried to kill the mainstream Spider-Man, the Spider gave up his life to save the Peter of Earth 616. The Spider was brought back to life by his universe's Doctor Strange and turned into Ghost Spider. We have yet to see this version of Ghost Rider in action, but the mere idea of Spider-Man being granted the demonic powers of the Ghost Rider in addition to his spider powers sounds like a total powerhouse. Unfortunately, the lack of follow-up leaves him in the number 8 slot. Number 7. Danny Ketch. While visiting Houdini's grave, Danny Ketch and his sister were caught in the crossfire of a gang war. While hiding with his injured sister, Danny came across a motorbike with a glowing gas cap. The gas cap turned out to be a mystical amulet, which transformed him into Ghost Rider. In addition to the usual Ghost Rider powers, Danny is also able to transform into a spirit of corruption, giving him an armored appearance and giving him the ability to fight the spirits of vengeance. While he is a beloved incarnation of the character, there are other versions who are more powerful, even if they aren't as interesting of a character, which is why Danny is relatively low on the ranking. Number 6. Caleb. A Civil War era black man, Caleb was able to purchase his and his family's freedom and set up a life for himself on a farm. Aided by his friend Travis, a former Confederate soldier who Caleb had saved the life of, he was able to set up a pretty good life for himself. Unfortunately, a gang led by a man named George Regan killed Caleb and his family in a racist attack. Caleb was brought back as a Ghost Rider and teamed up with Travis to hunt down the men who had destroyed his family and get his revenge. Because of the personal nature of his mission, Caleb has a determination that makes him truly terrifying to behold. He has all of the standard Ghost Rider powers, such as the flaming skull and the penance stare, but he has also displayed powers that none of the other Ghost Riders have shown to be capable of. These include the power to travel between dimensions with the use of his Hellfire, and the ability to possess and control the corpses of his victims. Number 5. Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is a motorcycle stuntman who, in an effort to save his surrogate father, Crash Simpson, from dying of cancer, made a deal with the demon Mephisto. Mephisto promised to cure Crash's cancer in exchange for Johnny's service. Unfortunately, Crash perished in a stunt gone wrong almost immediately afterwards, and Johnny became the Ghost Rider. Although he has tried to rid himself of this curse many times over the years, Johnny has used his powers to punish evildoers and do a lot of good, despite the evil inside wrestling for control. He is the most well-known Ghost Rider, possessing all of the iconic powers that come with the title. As he is the original Ghost Rider, other than Carter Slade, a hero with the same name but different powers, he is the barometer to which we are comparing all the other Ghost Riders and their powers, placing him at the middle of this list. Number 4, Alejandra Jones. When Johnny Blaze gave up the Ghost Rider curse, the spirit of vengeance transferred to Alejandra Jones. Jones had trained her entire life for the opportunity to become a Ghost Rider so that she could punish the sins of humanity. Because of this training, she was able to be an extremely powerful Ghost Rider, although she lost a huge amount of this power when Johnny Blaze reclaimed the Ghost Rider identity. For the time she had it, she was incredibly strong. She had the power within her to be transformed into a kind of bomb who wiped out all of the sins of everyone in Nicaragua. Number 3, Cosmic Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider of an alternate dimension where Thanos killed everyone on Earth. This rider made a deal with Mephisto so that he could seek out and destroy Thanos. Riding his space motorcycle, the rider teamed up with Galactus to hunt down the Mad Titan. When that failed, he went back in time in an attempt to kill Thanos as a baby. He instead raised the baby Thanos, somehow managing to make him even worse. He traveled the cosmos, punishing evildoers, becoming the first Ghost Rider to take their mission to an intergalactic level. But who was this version of Ghost Rider? What makes him so determined, ruthless, and vengeful? The answer? He's Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. You don't get much more dangerous than the powers of the Ghost Rider paired with the abilities and psychosis of the Punisher. Number 2, Robbie Reyes. Robbie Reyes was a street racer charged with taking care of his little brother Gabe, until one night he was killed in a carjacking gone wrong. Thankfully for him, his car was haunted by the ghost of his sadistic uncle Eli, who revived him and transformed him into Ghost Rider. Robbie now spends his time fighting evil, trying to be a good role model for his brother, and battling the spirit of his uncle in order to try and prevent himself from becoming a force for destruction. He has comparable power levels to other Ghost Riders in most areas, but ability to teleport pushes his stats up considerably, moving him near to the top. Number 1, Red Hulk. On a list that's focused purely on power levels, it's hard to imagine a more powerful combination than the one that occurred in the Secret of Four storyline. When Mephisto's son, Blackheart, enacted an evil plan to literally bring hell to Earth, the Alejandra Jones Ghost Rider, X-23, Agent Venom, and the Red Hulk were there to take him on. When this wasn't enough, the team decided that the best course of action would be to bond the Spirit of Vengeance and the Venom symbiote to the Red Hulk. This led to a creature with the combined powers of Ghost Rider, Venom, and Red Hulk, taking on and beating Blackheart in perhaps the most over-the-top action display Marvel has seen in years.
Coming in at number 10, we have Behemoth, an evil clone of the Hulk. Created through the scheming of the villainous Master of the World, an enlightened caveman of a villain who usually fights against the Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight, this clone was named Behemoth when he was sent along with several other cloned heroes to fight the Heroes for Hire. And while any clone of the Incredible Hulk is obviously going to be a bit intimidating, this clone luckily wasn't long for this world, surviving just a single issue before the Heroes for Hire defeated him by blowing up the entire island they were fighting on. Then again, if you're fighting the Hulk, that's probably the least messy ending you're likely to get. Coming in at number 9, we have Daydream. Now, this entry might be more of an honorable mention, as it's a bit unclear if Daydream was genetically tied to Bruce Banner at all, or just Betty Ross, but either way, she's definitely one of the weirdest daughters someone could have. Created by combining the mental energies of both Betty Ross and the Marvel villain known as Nightmare, Daydream is half human and half dream entity, capable of teleporting at will and reshaping the dreams and mental state of anyone around her, including the Incredible Hulk. Coming in at number 8, we have another technical Hulk daughter with Carmilla Black, aka the new Scorpion. A genetically engineered human created from the genetic material of Monica Rappaccini, the scientist supreme of AIM, and Bruce Banner. Carmilla has a scorpion stinger connected to her arm and a natural immunity to every poison in the world. While best known for serving with S.H.I.E.L.D. after discovering her origins were connected to the evil AIM, Carmilla has served with several different teams over the course of her career, and even if she might not be aware that she has some of Bruce Banner's DNA within her, she definitely is a green fighter the Hulk could be proud of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Incredible Claw. And just in case you can't tell from the text on screen, yes, that's just the Hulk spelled backwards. Created by the psychic villain Xemnu to be a superior clone to the original Grey Hulk, Claw was far more intelligent than the usual Grey Hulk persona, at the cost of him being slightly less powerful than his original inspiration. Claw was nearly able to kill both the Green and the Red Hulk with the help of Xemnu, but was eventually defeated whenever the hero Impossible Man combined both Red and Green Hulks into the Compound Hulk, a more powerful gamma creature that was able to put down Claw for good. Don't you just love a totally normal and not weird at all comic book ending? Coming in at number 6, we have Hero Kala. An infant son that the Hulk thought he had lost during the destruction of the planet Sakaar, Hero spent many years wandering the galaxy after he survived the explosion due to his mother's cocoon. Embracing the heritage of his mother's people, Hero converted their religion's old power into a new power by merging his psychic abilities with that of Galactus's power cosmic. While not green-skinned or as strong as his father, Hero Kala has continued to try and lead the Sakaaran people and find them a new suitable home amongst the stars. Coming in at number 5, we have the Nerd Hulk, an evil clone from the Ultimate Universe. Created from Bruce Banner's stem cells by the sociopathic brother of Tony Stark, Gregory, Nerd Hulk was intended to be the best of both worlds version of the Hulk, with all the strength and rage of his Gamma form combined with the intellect and restraint of Bruce Banner. However, this had the downside of making the Hulk actually afraid of combat despite his strength, and for a long time he was considered a bit of a laughingstock until by chance he was bitten by the Ultimate Universe's version of a vampire. This combination of a vampire's bloodlust and the Hulk's strength finally made the vampire Nerd Hulk a worthy villain for the Ultimates, and was only able to be defeated when he was cleverly teleported across the world into sunlight by Captain America. Coming in at number 4, we have Bo Banner. In the alternate apocalyptic future that the Old Man Logan stories take place in, the Hulk name has fallen into ruin, as the Hulk Gang is a roaming band of cannibal hillbillies that are apparently the spawn of the Hulk and his own cousin, having gone insane after receiving too much additional radiation from this version of America's nuclear war. One of the leaders of this hillbilly gang is Bo Banner, who winds up killing Wolverine's family after they're late paying protection fees. And while Wolverine dispatches Bo in a gruesome use of C4 explosives, cannibal descendants of the Hulk are still a pretty nasty and powerful surprise to find in this dark alternate future. Coming in at number 3, we have Lyra from Earth 8009. Born from the genetic material of the Hulk and her mother Thundra, the leader of an alternate future in which a warrior clan of women have taken over the planet, Lyra was intended to be the perfect union of the strongest man and the strongest woman in existence. And while Lyra's gamma powers have the unfortunate setback of actually making her weaker as she gets angrier, Lyra still has one hell of a punch due to the combined genetics of her parents. Trained in combat with every sort of physical weaponry imaginable, Lyra has since become an ally and friend of Earth 616's She-Hulk and fights by her side as an occasional accomplice. Coming in at number 2, we have Bruce Banner Jr. The youngest child of the Hulk gang from the post-apocalyptic Old Man Logan future we introduced earlier in this list, Bruce Banner Jr. was first introduced as just an ugly Hulk baby, kinda looking a little bit like the Grinch. However, in a storyline set 500 years later, this Hulk baby has grown into a new, more heroic version of the Hulk villain Maestro, himself a completely different evil future version of Bruce Banner. Having overcome his horrific origins to become an intelligent and heroic leader, Bruce Banner Jr. would occasionally cross over into the main Marvel universe and is currently still looking for a new world to call his own. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have Scar, the son of the Incredible Hulk and the older brother of Hero Kala. The offspring of the Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong, Scar's mother died so that he might live during the destruction of his planet, and eventually made his way back to Earth following in his father's footsteps. Calling himself the Killer of Killers, Scar has all of the strength of his father combined with the stone and magma manipulating power of his mother, and has walked the line between hero and anti-hero often enough that he was even Steve Rogers' double agent whenever Norman Osborn had taken over the Dark Avengers. No matter what situation he finds himself in, Scar will always be one of the strongest Gamma beings in the entire Marvel Universe.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Dawnbreaker. This version of Bruce Wayne first appeared in Dark Days The Casting issue 1, residing in, of course, the Dark Multiverse on Earth 32. The story picks up with the usual Bruce Wayne origins. His parents are both taken out by Joe Chill that night, but here young Bruce Wayne comes into contact with a Green Lantern ring. So Bruce approaches Joe and he's pretty pissed at this point. He's going for blood right off the bat. He ended up turning Joe Chill into bones and dust. And then when Bruce met Gordon, they got off on the wrong foot initially as well. Gordon greets him and he's like, Green Lantern, wasn't sure you'd show up. And then Bruce straight up's like, hey man, don't threaten me. Really awkward vibes, just quick awkward vibes right off the bat, no friendship there. He was taking out Gotham's villains super quick. Each time he did it, he would scream and yell about how much his parents deserved to not be dead. He flew the Penguin into outer space. That's how you handle a guy right there. You take him and you go, right off planet. Okay, so with all of these brutal the rest of the Green Lanterns knew they had to come and put a stop to this madness. Only it wasn't that easy. Bruce destroyed all of them. He executed the entire Guardians of the Universe. Beware his power, Dawnbreaker's might. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps our channel out and the studio quite a bit. You guys are super supportive. Thank you so much. Click, 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 and then we'll continue. Okay, let's do it. Number 9, Speeding Bullets Batman. There's a name. This Elseworld storyline showed us what would happen if Kal-El's ship did not crash land in Smallville, but rather it landed in Gotham. So when the inevitable did happen and his parents were attacked and killed that night, Bruce Wayne, real named Kal-El, used his alien powers and unwillingly killed the robbers. His powers just came out in the form of heat vision. Toast. They didn't make it at all. No chance. And after this point, Bruce Wayne wasn't the same. He was ruthless. He had the powers of a god and so much anger, guilt, and pain inside. He had no idea what to do with this. So he would just repeat over and over, the bullets, the bullets, the bullets. Like he was in bad shape mentally. He hid from the world in his mansion of solitude, and he couldn't even look at photos of anything related to death as it was super triggering. And then one night, a group of robbers tried to invade said house, but again, heat vision wins this round. Didn't make it. A little older and a little wiser, Kal-El decided that now is time to use his powers to get the job done. Help out, you know, be a role model. He took up the identity of the Batman, but still, just because he rocked the cape doesn't mean he was doing all the right things. For example, when Lois Lane was kicked out of Lex Luthor's limo later on, she was about to be attacked by thugs, but Batman came in and burned their flesh while splintering their bones. Or you could fly them to jail. Or vaporize their eyes. That works too. You can vaporize their eyes. That's sure, that gets the job done. Number 8, Darkclaw. Veering out of the Dark Multiverse for a hot minute, we have to talk about Darkclaw. Coming from the Amalgam Universe, where DC and Marvel combined powers, literally, we get a Wolverine-Batman mix. He first appeared in Legends of the Darkclaw issue 1 back in 1996, and his origin story is a hot mess. At just age 5, Logan Wayne witnessed the death of his parents, the usual stuff, but then he was sent to live with his uncle in Alberta, Canada. Better bring a jacket. It's cold. His uncle too bit the bullet after poachers ambushed him. So Logan Wayne enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force when he was of age, and shortly after was submitted into the Weapon X program. So much amalgam fun. There Logan got the adamantium treatment, but the Weapon X program was terminated because it was deemed a failure. Why, you ask? Logan Wayne still retained his conscience. So where to go next but to travel the world? Logan studied abroad. He studied a variety of crime-fighting skills in his time. He studied criminology, forensics, martial arts, gymnastics, you name it. This guy learned all 127 major styles of combat. And yes, Thumb Wars is included. You never know. You never know. That mixed with Wolverine's abilities, I mean, you're screwed. Good game. Number 7, 1800s Batman. Batman Gotham by Gaslight. A Tale of the Batman, written by Brian Augustin and brought to life by Mike Mignola. Here comes the tale from the Victorian era, where Batman is hunting down Jack the Ripper. So it's 1889, and while these attacks are happening over and over, the general public is starting to whisper through the winds and talk amongst themselves in the shadows that maybe, just maybe, it's Batman who is committing these crimes because, well, he's dressed like that. Pretty fair assumption. We love some Victorian drama. Let's get spooky. So we get historic killers here, we get old-timey gangs, Bruce gets framed. It's an entirely new version of Batman, but it's an older take on the Caped Crusader. To see Batman purely rely on his detective skills more than anything makes for a really enjoyable story. I mean, there's no crazy gadgets or cool Batmobile that flicks him up a building. He's just like, I got it, I'm a detective, let's do this. Steampunk Batman for the win. It got the feature film treatment in 2018 with Sam Liu directing, so if you're looking for an old-timey superhero animated flick with Jack the Ripper, there you go. Just made your day. What do you know? Number 6, Thomas Wayne. Coming from the Flashpoint storyline released back in 2011, written by Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert, Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, was actually the one to become Batman in this timeline. Now in this universe, Bruce Wayne was the one who got shot that fateful night and he bit the bullet. The world of Flashpoint is this altered reality where Barry accidentally ends up in, where Batman is older and much more violent, and not so much as a detective like Bruce. See, what happened was, in this alternate reality, Bruce's mother, Martha, is so traumatized that she becomes the Joker. That's why during the opening credits of Batman vs Superman, we were all pumped in the theater because Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen, two amazing actors, were in such a small opening scene as Bruce's parents, with zero dialogue. Now with recent set photos of Michael Keaton in the new Flash movie, we're still in for a great time, but we were so close to the best Flash movie with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a dark Thomas Wayne. Jeffrey Dean Morgan did say on Twitter that ever since Zack Snyder walked away, his whole bit in that world has walked away with him. But we still got Michael Keaton, so it's still fine. It's good. It's good. Number 5, Red Death. Coming from the Dark Multiverse, Earth 52, first appearing in Dark Days The Casting Issue 1, Red Death Batman used to be a hero who fought alongside Robin in his world. The events that transpired in Batman's life were taking a harder toll on him. He was watching all of these sidekicks just bite the bullet, so he was desperate to find this new power, a new way to get ahead of these horrible crimes. So he looked at his world's Flash. Batman honestly believed that he could use the Speed Force better than the Flash, so he took out all the Flash's villains, stole all their tech, and then he himself fought the Flash, and he was winning. He drove the two of them into the Speed Force because he had merged his Batmobile with the Cosmic Treadmill. That's always fun. And then that's when he absorbed all of Barry's powers. He did it. After Batman came back from the Speed Force, he referred to himself as Batman, the Red Death, where he would easily and brutally kill Gotham's rogues. All the while, Barry's consciousness is begging him to stop inside of him. It's kind of like a nightmare, this version. Definitely a nightmare. Number 4, Azrael. Right after the 1993 Nightfall story, when Batman got his back broken by Bane, just absolutely wrecked, he decided to pass the Batman mantle right on to not Dick Grayson. No, instead he chose Jean-Paul Valley, aka Azrael. His run on Batman wasn't the same as Bruce's. I mean, for starters, Azrael's methods were pretty violent and quite irresponsible. In all fairness, he was capable of defeating Bane with this new tricked out batsuit, but this guy thought that he was actually an all-round better Batman and a permanent successor rather than a replacement. Got news for you, pal. So once Bruce did recover, he had to force Azrael to leave the position. Even the style changes were quite drastic. Azrael made more than a few changes to the suit. Now it's black and yellow, this metallic armor, and then he added some other gadgets like claws, dual mag weapons, and of course, a cape. Just to, you know, because he's a hero, he needs a cape. Number 3, Terry McGinnis. The year is 2039, and by this point, Bruce Wayne has retired from the crime-fighting life. But meanwhile, Project Cadmus director Amanda Waller was out in search of a replacement, beginning with Project Batman Beyond. A major key element was using Batman's blood samples left over from his altercations, the OG Batman. That, mixed with some nanotech solutions, we now can make the DNA of Bruce Wayne. The future, how lovely. So Amanda found the Warren McGinnis household with Warren and Mary, and the couple was psychologically identical to Thomas and Martha Wayne. Perfect. So when they thought they were going in for a flu shot, they didn't know they were actually about to be the new parents of a new Batman. Amanda almost had both of them taken out to, you know, encourage the lonely road of the Caped Crusader growing up, but thankfully she scrapped that idea. Because we don't need the same origin story, Amanda. Like, give the kid a minute to figure it out. Like, you know, they don't have to We don't need to. Turns out you can't avoid fate still, because down the road in Terry's teenage years, his father ended up getting killed, and Terry believed that it was actually the corrupt CEO Derek Powers behind all of it. So he got the help of Bruce Wayne, who was part of the merger with Derek Powers naturally. Then after facing off against the Joker's gang, Terry realized that Bruce was in fact this original Batman. So Terry stole his Batsuit and was determined to find justice himself. The Beyond suit is just awesome. Rocket boots, claws, cloaking device, the red and black, I mean, you can't get any better than that. Number 2. Batman. Coming from Earth 43, Batman is, well, he's just that. He's Batman who doubles down as a vampire. Nice. We see him for the first time in Batman and Dracula Red Reign. His origins are the same for the most part, how he became Batman because of his parents, all that jazz. That's the same. But then when he's patrolling one night, he starts to find victims all with the same injury. Their throats have been just slashed apart. Who could have done this? Why, Dracula himself, that's who. He gets help from a rogue vampire named Tanya, who was once part of Dracula's posse. And Batman is so wild, this guy willingly gets bitten by a vampire to become one, so then he can take on Dracula. Whatever it takes to get the job done, I respect that a lot. And finally, number 1. Batman, the God of all knowledge. The Mobius chair made its first appearance in New Gods issue 1, and the chair itself was created by Mobius, aka the Anti-Monitor. He gave the chair to Metron, but when Metron took his eye off the prize for a minute, Batman ended up becoming the God of all knowledge for a short time. What happened was Wonder Woman grabbed Metron with her lasso, yanked him right off, and then before boom tubes were summoned or anything like that, Batman just took that chance that he had and jumped on the chair. Musical chair style. Then the Dark Knight becomes the bright light. The whole team at this time is fighting Darkseid, and Batman's just floating in the background, just trying to figure out the universe. He's just searching for solutions via the cosmic realm. It's pretty spectacular. Things took a jump to overdrive when he also received a power ring. I thought he was a good detective before, but now, I mean, that's just OP.
Number 10, Maker. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Ultimate Universe is awesome. Hulk in this universe is actually quite a bit scarier, at least to me. You know who else is scarier? Reed Richards, the Maker. The Maker is the Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe, who is evil. He's part of a group of superpowered beings alongside Hulk, Human Torch, Kang, and Quicksilver, who are called the Dark Ultimates. They are essentially villains together, and Hulk and Maker are actually kind of on the same team. Maker actually battles Hulk in a more psychological way, when he calms one of his rampages and convinces him he's being used by S.H.I.E.L.D. After a whole whack of confusing comic booky stuff, the Ultimates all team up and save the day, and then travel the cosmos hunting down the Maker. Number 9. The Leader. It's a great name, honestly. The Leader. Nice. Rightfully so, too. This guy is one of the Hulk's oldest rivals. Samuel Stearns was a janitor at a chemical facility where he unfortunately also had an incident involving gamma radiation. Samuel's gamma mutations gained him a super genius level intelligence, along with some telepathy. He also has the gamma ability of self-resurrection. There is actually an instance in Immortal Hulk number 39 in which he physically consumes the intelligence of another man, Brian Banner. But we don't know if this is a normal ability or a kind of mental representation of him consuming another person's knowledge, since he was in the below place at the time. The Leader fights with Bruce on so many different occasions, but the Immortal Hulk story is the one I'm really into right now. You should check it out if you haven't before. Number 8, Maestro. The Maestro is technically Hulk himself, only an alternate version, one who lived through a nuclear apocalypse. He has the intelligence of Bruce, but basically double the strength of Hulk in his base form. He has easily defeated the Hulk several times, and his existence as a possible future version of the Hulk scares the hell out of Bruce himself. He is what would happen if you took the Hulk and made him evil and power hungry and powered him up. In his timeline, he rules over the megacity of Dystopia, where the remnants of humanity live, and he overthrew the former ruler Hercules not through pure strength, but through deception. He is powerful, ruthless, and just a pretty rude dude. Well, here we are. We meet again, at the end of the 8th point. You know how great you are? Pretty great. When you gingerly press upon that like and subscribe button, it lets us know that this is the kind of content you like to see. So, thanks for doing that. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook too. You can find a little extra content. Alright, let's carry on, shall we? Number 7. Juggernaut. Cain Marko, the avatar of the god Sidorak. Cain is a Thor-level threat to the Marvel Universe, wielding the abilities granted to him by the Gem of Sidorak. Juggernaut has almost limitless super strength and stamina. He has a nearly invulnerable force field, he's immortal, and when he does somehow get damaged, he has a ridiculous healing factor. His main ability, however, is irresistible force embodiment, meaning once he begins to advance in a certain direction, it is virtually impossible to halt his movements. Guess who is one of the only characters to actually stop him? Thor! Yes, but shut up! Hulk! Hulk was one of them when he was War Hulk. Gosh, I gotta stop getting ahead of myself. Number 6, Nightmare. A mysterious lord of fear. Nightmare is basically an unstoppable demon capable of capturing the astral form or spirit of a person while they are sleeping. Nightmare has been shown to be capable of subduing 2 earth demigods, an eternal and an elder god. That's the kind of power we're talking about. But you can solve any problem when you're an impossibly strong green monster made of pure muscle, right? Nightmare manages to capture Hulk's mind and send him on a rampage against Dr. Stephen Strange. Luckily, the good doctor was able to contact Banner inside the Hulk's mind. I don't really know how one does this, but Banner transformed into the Hulk inside the Hulk's mind and fought off Nightmare. They've clashed a few other times, like when he took off Nightmare's head and stole his horse. Again, I don't know how it works, but it is what it is. Number 5, Onslaught. After Magneto used his powers to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, Professor Xavier snapped and shut down the mind of Magneto. In the process of this, Xavier absorbed all the anger, grief, and lust for vengeance from Magneto's mind, which molded with every long-suppressed negative feeling the Professor had endured during the last 30 years. This resulted in a personality forming within Xavier, known as Onslaught, that would eventually separate to become a separate entity all on its own. Onslaught was incredibly powerful, and all the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four could not take him. That's when Bruce Banner's Hulk said, "Hold my beer," and told Phoenix to turn off the Bruce personality inside his head. She did, and the Savage Hulk beat Onslaught so hard he destroyed his impenetrable armor, allowing Thor to land a massive blow and the heroes to take the win. Number 4, Thanos. Thanos is an interesting one, and we're talking without the Infinity Gauntlet. See, he is exceedingly strong, so much so that he can stand toe-to-toe with Hulk, at least at Hulk's base strength. Thanos tends to have the advantage in most of their conflicts, using his intelligence and martial skill to take the win more often than not. We see an excellent example of this in the MCU's Infinity War, even if it was a stupid excuse for Hulk not to show up for the rest of the movie. The two of these guys have traded wins pretty evenly, but Thanos has the advantage in my mind. If you have the time, check out the Thanos vs. Hulk 4-part story. It's a cool story involving Annihilus, and it leads right into Thanos the Infinity Relativity, which is also a really fun read. Number 3, Surtur. We mentioned the MCU in the last point, but I thought I'd go full force into it. In Thor Ragnarok, we get to see Hulk attack Surtur, the fire giant, as he is destroying Asgard with the Twilight Sword. It's actually really awesome. So he has fought Surtur, but how would that go in the comics? That's a good question. Well, we know that Surtur's main purpose is to beat Odin, so he is at least on Odin's level. You know who else is on Odin's level? Zeus. And Zeus and Hulk have had a bit of a scuffle once upon a time, which didn't go well for the Hulk. But then again, you take one of Hulk's more powerful forms like Worldbreaker Hulk or Heart of the Monster Hulk, and Hulk takes the win every time. Number 2, Galactus. He's a cosmic being who goes around eating planets, and he thinks he can try to come to Earth and pull that nonsense? We have a Hulk. Earth's dinner menu is no longer available. Oh, just kidding. The Hulk has not won against Galactus, and they've never really had a one-on-one fight. It's safe to say that of all the heroes on Earth, Hulk is maybe one who could make Galactus notice him though. But that's likely as far as it will go. Just like with Surtur, in theory he could win if he got angry enough, but we just haven't had an example of that. And it would have to be quite the insane level of power for Hulk to take the win. Hulk does actually become the Herald of Galactus at one point when he becomes Worldbreaker Hulk in What If World War Hulk, and it is just insane. Number 1, the One Below All. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, Hulk is transported to the Below Place, which is the realm of the One Below All. Now, just to give some context, in Marvel Comics there's a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but it essentially is the equivalent to God, or the Creator. Now we have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics, but this is different. It is like the God of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. it's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So the one below all is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. The one below all is trapped in the below place and manifests in realities through Gamma. Basically, this means that Hulk and the other Gamma mutated beings have fractions of the one below all's power. In an alternate future, it would actually take over Bruce Banner's body and use his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity, and eventually it would eradicate all life in the multiverse. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk storyline, but I'm telling you, go read this. Number 10, Peter Parker of Earth 92100. You'd think the addition of extra arms for a Spider-Man would be an added benefit. When it happened to Peter in the 616 universe, he panicked and got rid of it with the DNA of Morbius. Understandably. But on Earth 92100, Morbius did not live long enough to help Peter, being eaten by sharks of all things. And since no one else could, Peter kinda had to just deal with it. Turns out, during a fight with Doc Ock, after Peter embraced his extra appendages, they actually give him a distinct advantage. They actually grant him much more strength and agility, and using them, he is even able to save Gwen Stacy from her demise. Unfortunately, they don't really protect him from the Inheritors. Spider Limbs here sacrifices himself to save Spider-Man 2099 and Lady Spider in Spider-Man 2099 Volume 2 Number 6 in 2014. Number 9. Spider Assassin. Do you know how effective Spider-Man would actually be if he was a little less moral but still a crime fighter? Pretty effective. And while we've seen a few different examples of this, I chose to pull from What If? Spider-Man vs. Wolverine number 1, where we are introduced to Spider Assassin. In his universe, with great power comes great responsibility and greater enemies, which led this Peter of Earth 8351 to leave New York to protect his family. He joined up with Wolverine, and likely because of this friendship, he is much less opposed to sending criminals to the afterlife. He's also almost always serious, not resorting to quips and jokes to cope with situations anymore, which is reflected in his costume, which is a much darker look, especially with those black eyes. I really dig it. His web shooters have also been shown to shoot black webs in some panels, and they also include firearms. He is an effective addition to the Spider Army when it was formed, and an extremely effective Spider-Man indeed. Number 8, Spider-Man. Alright, yeah. Nope, not a fan of this one. You ever seen those videos of people finding spider nests where it's literally a swarm of spiders? Yeah, okay, imagine that, but they're superpowered and come together to take on a human form. Now you've got the terrifying Spider-Man, which, side note, that's a great name. In Spider-Geddon number 3 of 2018, we are introduced to a colony of radioactively powered spiders who consumed a high school boy by the name of Peter Parker when he fell into their enclosure at Horizon Labs. After consuming Peter, the spiders gained a sort of hive mind in Peter's image and began fighting crime in Cruel York of Earth 11580. Other than his usual Spider-Man powers and the benefits of being a swarm of spiders, the colony is also able to poison its victims with a bite, or, if they're hungry for power, devour them whole. And it's incredibly hard to actually de-life this guy, as even a single spider being alive means technically Spider-Man is also still alive and can multiply to rebuild itself. Number 7. Spider UK. The first Spider-Man mashed with another Marvel hero. These mashups always make for powerful characters. Basically, Spider UK is William Braddock, hailing from Earth 833. If you haven't gathered from the Braddock namesake, Spider UK is what would happen if Spider-Man was a Captain Britain. As such, he is part of the Captain Britain Corps, being introduced in the Edge of Spider-Verse Volume 1. He is also part of the Spider Army put together to take on the Inheritors, and a pretty important part of it, he was not only an amazing leader, but also had a very useful dimension hopping ability. Unfortunately, this Spider-Man didn't actually have a spider sense, which is probably what allowed him to be de-lifed by an attack from behind in Spider-Geddon number 1. Number 6. Spider-Man 2099. Probably one of the most loved characters on this list. The Spider-Man of Earth 928, Miguel O'Hara, or as he's better known, Spider-Man of the dystopian future of 2099. This version of Spider-Man has many similar abilities to 616 Peter Parker, but some that are not so similar. He has super speed, which is actually capable of somehow creating a decoy. His spider sense allows him to telepathically communicate with others. He has accelerated vision, he has retractable talons, and also has fangs that he can use to paralyze others. And he has the famously disgusting organic spider silk spinnerets on his wrists. He first appeared as a preview in Amazing Spider-Man number 365 in June of 1992, and in his own series in Spider-Man 2099 number 1 in September 1992, and he is a titanically awesome character. Number 5. The Spider of Earth 15. There are a lot of characters who go by the Spider, but specifically, I'm talking about the one that's bonded with the Carnage symbiote who comes from Earth 15. The Spider of Earth 15 is a much more sadistic, sociopathic, red-headed version of Peter Parker, which is proven by the fact that he has been sentenced to a total of 67 life sentences in prison for the crimes he has committed. To make him just a bit more lovable, he has a sense of humor very much like that of Deadpool. The Spider was introduced in Exiles number 12 and was a big part of the reality-conquering Weapons X team featured in it, being a sometimes leader of that team. As a Carnage-bonded sociopath, he was pretty powerful, but he was nonetheless sent to the afterlife by a blast from Firestar in Exiles number 44. Number 4. Poison. From one symbiote to another. Every time that pesky Venom symbiote would try to merge with Peter Parker, he would only get halfway before Peter could repel him. Now, what happens if Peter Parker is defeated by Venom, who completely bonds with him? In the What If Spider-Man the Other story, after Peter is defeated by Morlun and cocoons himself under Brooklyn Bridge, he is offered the chance to be resurrected by the Spider God. But instead of allowing this, he refuses and is ejected from his cocoon non-resurrected. Cut to Venom, who, being Spider-Man's crazy ex-girlfriend, senses what is happening and completely ditches his current host. He intercepts Peter's body and after months of struggling, fully bonds to Peter. Now, Peter has all the fully realized powers that come with being a symbiote, but he actually has stingers that are capable of piercing the skin of Luke Cage, which is pretty insane. Number 3. Spider-Hulk. The second Spider amalgam here. Spider-Man of the Immortal Hulk with Great Powers story is granted the alter ego of the Hulk after Loki magically transferred the Gamma power to him. So it's Spider-Man's relative spider powers mixed with an unstoppable green monstrosity with the temperament of a toddler. It's actually really cool. Eventually, the power of the Hulk is switched back to Banner with the help of the Fantastic Four and Banner's own genius. It's a short little story that seems almost self-contained, but it's an insanely cool one, and a Spider-Hulk would be an incredibly powerful character if he were to show up again and had more time to hone his abilities and temper tantrums. Number 2. Ghost Spider. The last Spider-Man mashup with other heroes, but nonetheless possibly one of the most powerful potential mashups. Also, in my opinion, the coolest looking one. Also, it appears that Uncle Ben leaving this plane of existence is actually a really good thing. See, on Earth 11638, Ben never loses his life to a mugger, and he helps train Peter with his powers and helping him form Parker Industries. Peter and Uncle Ben end up building a machine that allows Peter to lure alternate versions of Spider-Man to this reality where he absorbs their powers to increase his own. That kind of took a dark turn, didn't it? But when he tried to do this to the apparently most powerful Spider-Man from Earth 616, he is de-lifed and his soul is sent to hell, where, with the assistance of the Infernal Hulk, he is fused with the spirit of vengeance, becoming the Ghost Spider. If you know anything about Ghost Rider, you know how actually insanely powerful he is, even going toe-to-toe with Galactus at one point. So yeah, this Spider-Man / Ghost Rider guy is potentially extremely powerful. Number 1. Cosmic Spider-Man. There was a point in time when Peter Parker of Earth 616 absorbed the Enigma Force and became the most powerful version of Spider-Man we have ever seen, even capable of punching the Hulk into orbit. In the mainline continuity, he doesn't have it for very long, but on Earth 13, he kept the powers and became the hero Captain Universe. So, this Peter Parker has all the usual Spider-Man powers, but also now has cosmic awareness where he can sense things on a subatomic level and from crazy distances. He has energy manipulation, giving him energy blast and flight. He also used his abilities to manipulate matter, making his webs as strong as adamantium, or even changing their shape altogether. His universe became a safe haven for all the Spider-Men when the Inheritors were hunting them, because Captain Universe could defeat them, and his cosmic powers are gone when he leaves that dimension. Unfortunately, he is consumed by Solus, who used the life force basis of his powers against him in Amazing Spider-Man number 11 in 2014. He's still cool though.